journalist and Westminster editor Lead, Zoe Grunwald, and entertainment and royal correspondent at The Telegraph, India McTaggart. So welcome back to both of you. And as we've been reflecting in the last couple of hours, all the front pages, bar the Star, I think it is, go with the tensions in the Middle East and the strike by Israel on Iran, the huge strike, and the subsequent response from Iran. There's the Eyes take. This is war, Iran tells Israel after assassinations and nuclear bases bombed. I mean, this is big news.
Absolutely, yes. As you say, this is dominating the front pages, and we can expect it to dominate for some time. Netanyahu has said essentially that Israel won't stop until they have managed to prevent Iran from continuing with its nuclear plans. It said it will be at least 2 weeks. And of course, Iran has also vowed to open the gates of hell in retaliation. Both sides have accused each other of hitting civilians. There are questions about whether the conflict will spread not only in the region but into other states who may be allied to either nation. There are concerns in Western nations about Israeli embassies and, of course, about local Jewish populations as well and their safety. So, and of course, concerns about terrorism as well. So this is a conflict that is absolutely going to bring in the rest of the world, and I think it's going to dominate the news agenda for quite some time as we see just how both sides might escalate this.
Absolutely. And as you say, Israel's made it clear that its strikes aren't over yet, and it has got the nuclear ambitions of Iran in its sights, as well as trying to take out other military facilities as well. And the question now as well on to what extent Iran's ability to respond has been curtailed by those strikes.
Yes, so this did represent Israel's biggest ever strike against its longtime foe, Iran. And as you mentioned, to take out the nuclear capabilities, I think they're targeting 3 different nuclear facilities, one quite difficult because it's quite deep underground. But also to take out the top military and intelligence personnel in Iran, which will hinder Iran's response and retaliation. Presumably, they will be less organised in their retaliation as a result, or it might be a little bit more difficult because they're severely weakened over the last few years and their proxies are. But I think an important thing to note is that probably, people are asking why now, and we know that Netanyahu has had this in his sight for sort of 2 decades. But, for years, Israel's faced a regime in Iran that's been very explicit about wanting to eliminate the state of Israel and has used very apocalyptic language to that end, sort of saying, we want to rain down fire on their heads and words to that effect. So I think that sort of existential threat that Israel has faced for many, many years, as well as the nuclear threat and that build-up of the threat of nuclear weapon development, I think the shadow boxing has now turned into actual direct blows. So, yeah. And of course, on top of that, we have the Iran-backed militia groups, Hezbollah, Houthis, Hamas, doubling, their existential threat, and we saw that on October 7th as well.
Yeah, and really interesting to see where it does go, but a lot of nervousness around that. And yes. Also, we will be watching the international response, lots of calls for restraint and de-escalation at this stage. Let's take us on to some of the other stories in the papers as well, because beside the coverage of the Middle East, there's also more on the plane crash which happened just 24 hours before those strikes in India, killing 270 people, 1 sole survivor. And obviously, we still have a lot to learn about this. We still don't know the cause.
We still don't know the cause. They've recovered the black box. That's going to be the most informative piece of probably information that we're going to get in terms of what actually caused the plane to sort of glide down and then crash within a matter of a minute or seconds after takeoff. So what officials in India have now ordered is additional safety checks to their Boeing Dreamliner aircraft in the wake of the crash. So we've got the Directorate General of Civil Aviation in India saying it would mandate an extra one-off check for Air India's Boeing 787-8s and 787-9 fleets as a preventative measure after this incident. So we know that also a team of investigators from the UK and the United States are going to check out what happened as well and to look at any evidence that they can gather. But there needs to, there are so many lines of inquiry that can go down to discover what happened.
Yeah, maybe some time before we know.
Exactly. Could it be double engine failure or anything like that? So it may be some time.
Yeah, and all those personal stories still to come out as families wait for confirmation and for news. Just a really terrible time for them. Let's turn to something a little bit more positive, shall we? Inside the Telegraph, this is the paper's coverage, your paper's coverage, India. In fact, I think you're one of the bylines.
I am one of the bylines, yes.
My copy is very blurry, but I think I can make out your name there, of the King's Birthday Honours List. I'm going to ask you to talk through it in a minute, but first I want to get your reaction. What do you make of the King's Birthday Honours List, or honours in general? Is it something that you applaud?
It's not, no. I mean, I think sometimes you do see people getting honoured who you might, members of the public might think, I'm not sure I would necessarily give them a place in the House of Lords or give them a title like that. I think there is, we've seen it being used as kind of political favouritism. Obviously, it's slightly different when the King himself is involved, and of course, it's always nice when people see their kind of national heroes, people like David Beckham, getting an honour, or those who have done really extraordinary things. But, I think there is a certain amount of eye-rolling that can go on about honours and the honours list, which I think is not always completely unjustified.
OK, well, I'll let you do a little bit of light eye-rolling while India talks us through some of the names involved here in this article.
Yes, so we have decided to top on Dame Penny. She has received a damehood. She was, of course, a former cabinet minister, but she held the sword...
This is Penny Mordaunt, we should say.
Penny Mordaunt, sorry, yes. So she held the sword, which was 4 kilos, almost 4 kilos.
And presumably she didn't win it for that.
The King's
She didn't get...
No, but sort of that's
Although it was quite an achievement.
It was quite an achievement, and she was actually the first woman in history to perform that role at a coronation, so it was kind of monumental in that way as well. But she's brilliant, and she has been honoured by the King. Then we've also seen a host of famous sporting names. We've got Luke Littler, the teenage dance sensation, who is sort of a bit early, actually, to be honoured maybe, but of course he's brought in so many new people to watching the sport, which is amazing. David Beckham, we know, has been campaigning for a knighthood for more than a decade. He's ambassador of the King's Foundation. He's recently become very close to the King and Queen. And he also queued for 13 hours to see the Queen lying in state. So that was also, I think, won him a lot of favour in the general public.
OK. Yes, so well, congratulations to all of them. And as you say, lots of local heroes as well, who have done amazing work in their communities, who are being honoured as well. So huge congratulations all round. So we can talk now. We've got 2 stories and probably only enough time to talk about one of them. So do we want to talk about getting sacked for dropping off at work, or mushroom coffee?
Well, we were saying the two actually almost lead it quite nicely into each other.
Perfect. Take it away.
The first one is about a tribunal judgment that basically... somebody got laid off from their job for falling asleep. It was a security guard, and he fell asleep on shift. And they sacked him for gross misconduct. But a tribunal found that actually, because he had worked 6 shifts in a row and he was only supposed to work 4, that actually he should have just been given a final warning. And now, obviously, the Times is leading with actually dozing off at work shouldn't necessarily get you sacked. It all depends on the context with which it happened. And actually, they say that falling asleep accidentally is quite different from, clocking off a bit early to go and take a nap. So maybe good news for sleepy workers, much like me, who, sometimes feel that 5 minutes of shut-eye actually might do slightly better in the...
And very briefly, they can't rely on keeping awake with a mushroom coffee. Is this what the link is?
Well, it's Gen Z sort of turning to adaptogenic mushroom coffees instead of just having booze or natural coffee.
OK.
So
that's all we've got time. You've summed it up beautifully. Lovely to have your company this morning. Thanks both so much.
Thank you.
A show of military might and menace.